Hi, I'm Ted Haftagaber, founder and producer of Live Talks Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. Since we started over a decade ago, we have brought you hundreds of conversations with storytellers, writers, actors, musicians, humorists, chefs, and thought leaders in business and science. You can watch and hear most of these in our YouTube channel and our podcast. For details, visit livetalksla.org. And now, here's the show you've tuned in to see. We welcome Andy Cohen and Amber Tamblyn to Live Talks Los Angeles. They'll discuss Andy's book, Glitter Every Day, 365 Quotes from Women I Love. Andy is the host and executive producer of Watch What Happens Live, Bravo's late-night interactive talk show. He also serves as executive producer of the Real Housewives franchise and hosts the reunion specials. He's won an Emmy and 2 Peabody Awards and is the author of 3 New York Times bestselling books. We welcome Amber Tamblyn back to Live Talks Los Angeles. She is an author, actor, and director. She has been nominated for an Emmy, Golden Globe, and Independent Spirit Award for her work in television and film, including House MD and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Most recently, she wrote and directed the feature film Painted Black. She is the author of 3 books of poetry, including the critically acclaimed bestseller Dark Sparkler and a novel, Any Man, as well as a contributing writer to the New York Times. They will talk, and Amber will incorporate some questions sent in from you in the audience. Take it from here, Amber.
Thank you so much, Ted. I am so delighted to be here interviewing the most incredible human on television, but also in New York, I think, and that is the wonderful Andy Cohen, who has a new book out called Glitter Every Day, 365 Quotes from Women I Love. I love this book. I didn't know what it was going to be, Andy, when I got it in the mail and I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is so fucking cool, because it just pulls quotes from women all over the world in your personal life, whether it was from your mom, Evelyn, Lucille Ball, the Janet Jackson, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Gladys Knight. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And they're really good quotes. They're not all like affirmational and sweet, although many of them are. They're also like foul-mouthed and really funny and talking about farts, which always makes me giggle. So will you just talk a little bit about the idea for this book, where it came from, what inspired you?
First of all, thank you, Amber. And I always like to remind everyone, whenever you and I get together publicly, I have tasted your breast milk on live television. Thank you.
We're very close. We're very close.
And so basically, Hoda Kotb is a buddy of mine, and she has come out with a few quote a day books that are very Hoda-y. So like they're very earnest and they're very straightforward and uplifting and life affirming and, make you kind of want to tear up. And I thought, well, what if I did my own version of one of those? I love writing, period. I have my own book imprint at Holt. I have 3 other books. And during the pandemic, I was trying to think of, we all were trying to think of something productive to do. And so I talked to my editor and I said, what if I do a book where it's all quotes, but A, it's from women, and B, they're like very me quotes. So it's Mariah Carey saying, I don't know her. And then me explaining what that means, why it's relevant to me, and why you actually can use it in your everyday life. In terms of women have been inspiring me, from my mom, as you said, to, I grew up, I'm a gay kid from St. Louis. I grew up worshiping Diana Ross and Cher and Marie Osmond and Donna Summer and just great female iconic divas. And so I wanted to have them in there. And then, of course, just mentors that I've had along the way, and the Housewives. So it really is Your girl Portia's in the book.
Portia's in there, Phaedra's in there. Oh, I saw all of the
Yes.
quotes, and they really are the doozies of the doozies. They're the best.
Yes. So I just wanted to, I wanted it to, I'm very high and low. I can appreciate Ruth Bader Ginsburg as much as I can appreciate Dorinda. So that's my vibe. And that's the vibe of the book, which, by the way, I'm so excited about how it looks. Robert Risco did a beautiful job with the cover. He's done my last few covers, and I absolutely love how it looks on.
I love the cover. I was gonna that was something I was gonna ask you about, because it's also kind of deceiving in like a really beautiful way, where when I first got it, I was like, oh, is this like, and then I saw the quotes as the subtitle, and I thought, oh, at first I thought it was going to be sort of memoristic about your love and appreciation of women, and especially women with big mouths and big things to say and big personalities. And then I went, oh no, this is like more aspirational. And I looked through it, but it really does. What's really beautiful about it is it rides the emotions and the arcs that I think many women experience and are, and what defines us, whether that is extremely humorous, extremely foul-mouthed, extremely heartened. And I kind of get this sense, I don't know your mom, and, but from reading her quotes and what I've read about her through you, your mom seems to sort of be the encapsulation of all of these things, these wonderful qualities that you love about women. So will you just talk a little bit more about your mom for us?
My mom is very outspoken. She always says, if we were doing like Jewish Yenta-y housewives, she would have been perfect in some way, because housewives, if you watch the show, are taught to speak their feelings. And, sometimes we keep our feelings or our thoughts inside, but housewives tend to say them all. And my mom is the same way. She's very no bullshit. And I got that from her, where I don't fake it. If I don't like something, or if I'm annoyed at something, I will say something. And so I definitely got that from her. I also got, I think, a spirit of being able to do whatever I wanted in the world. And, she always encouraged me to be involved in things, be involved in politics, be involved in my community, and then, just be involved socially, which I am very involved. And so that I got all that from her.
You got all that from her. There's some great quotes from her in this book. One of my favorite ones actually reminds me of my mother, who has like a similar quote that she sort of retwisted from my grandfather, who's a very old, grouchy Scottish violinist, alcoholic. Fabulous combination. But she,
anybody?
Yeah. But Evelyn, your mom said things aren't so good that they couldn't be worse. And I love that quote.
You know what? It's so, my mom, someone was telling me last night, they were like, the truth is you seem so optimistic, but you're also kind of a buzzkill, because you like take things to this weird level. And I was like, wow, I really got that from my mom. Absolutely.
You do. And 1 minute you're like shots, and then the next second you're like, were you silent or were you silenced? I mean, you go there. You're not afraid to go there. You know what I mean? Like you really enjoy it.
Yes, so true.
And
too. And Gail's in the book.
Yes, Scales. That's right. They're all in the book. My grandfather, through my mom, used to always say to me, "Cheer up, it'll get worse." So that was my version of the Evelyn quote.
By the way, there are a lot of quotes about aging and respecting the place that you are in your life, no matter where you are. But there's a quote, and there are a couple of quotes that encapsulate this. But I remember Diane von Furstenberg saying to me once, she took a picture of me, and I said, "God, I hate how I look." And she said, "Look at the picture in 7 years, you'll love what you look like." And it's so true. And that is something for all of us to remember, because we don't really look at pictures of ourselves from 8 years ago and think, "Oh, I look horrible." You're usually like, "Oh, I wish I looked like that."
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're like, look at that one chin. No, we're all gorgeous forever. Gloria Steinem's in here. Eleanor Roosevelt. I love this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, which I've never heard. "A woman is like a tea bag. then this is not where I thought it was going. You never
Yes.
know how strong it is until it's in hot water.
Yes.
That is
So
a fucking
good.
great quote. Speaking
It
of the
is.
hot water of it, I guess I'm curious to know just a little bit about, this love and this belief in women. And I'm sure many people who are watching this, want to hear a little bit about the Housewives and about your creation of this really brilliant franchise.
Well,
And just
it's
tell us a
funny,
little bit about it.
you're such a great feminist. And I consider myself a great feminist too.
I do
And
too.
I think
You are.
that people, and Gloria Steinem was on Much What Happens Live once, and she is not into the Housewives at all. Now, I don't think I think this is based on kind of seeing clips and the idea of women fighting and stuff. But I think if you go a little deeper, I've talked about this a lot with a lot of female friends of mine. I think if you go a little deeper into the show, yes, there are some really ridiculous moments of discord. And a lot of times that fuels the drama on the show. But for me, one of the things that I love about it is that we showcase women at an age in their life where they're often, not so vibrant or not considered so sexy. And as by the way, as we've grown with these women, because especially if you look at the New York Housewives, a lot of them are in their 50s right now. If you look at Luann de Lesseps, who
Yes.
has had such an interesting arc for so many reasons, but she is someone, and I love about the New York Housewives that they live on their own terms, especially sexually. I love how sexually, not just viable, but they're very sexual people, and they're not sitting around pining away for men. They're in charge of who they are sexually, and they're in the driver's seat, and they're not crying about it. They're having fun with it, and they're enjoying it, and they're like, let's go get some guys. I mean, and it's so, to me, empowering to see. And I just don't know if you see a lot of women that age doing that are the heroes in their stories. And they are very much the heroes in their stories. Why do you as a feminist like the show?
I think it's for a lot of those reasons. I think one of the things that I love about it, first of all, I love watching when they actually do grow and when there's some kind of growth edge that they've overcome in their life. I love that same thing of watching women be, difficult and upsetting and doing all the things that you think they're not supposed to do. It's interesting that Gloria Steinem said she doesn't like the Housewives or doesn't care for it, but I also think that probably many of the viewers who watch it for the same reasons that Gloria also doesn't think that she doesn't like it, even though she hasn't watched it yet, which is just that we're not used to seeing women do that on TV. We're not used to hearing them talk so openly about their vaginas and anal sex and hitting each other with throwing fake legs at each other and doing all kinds of crazy things at that age, so it's different. It does feel like it's kind of this door that was left open to women's behavior that we're not normally allowed to see on television unless it's deeply controlled at some level. And so to see the sort of cork popped off of it is great, because I think we all inside, especially as women, and I can speak as someone in the entertainment business and also a writer, but specifically in the entertainment business, there's so much on, as my manager used to say, used to call it, wave them off with a manicured hand, be very sweet and diplomatic and polite when you get the worst rejection, when people treat you like shit, when they're misogynist. And what's great about the Housewives is just that they'll be like, fuck you, and they'll tell you exactly how they feel, and you get to watch it. So it's voyeurism in that way.
Right. And I think also people at their core love judging human behavior. And it's like guilt-free gossip. We can all, at this point, we feel like we're all friends or enemies with all the women on the screen.
It's
And we
true.
can be like, can you believe that she did that or was with that guy or didn't do that or whatever? And I think it's fun. It's like there's weirdly a play along at home component to the show.
Yeah. And it's also, I think I would say, I mentioned this to you the last time I was in the clubhouse, which by the way, everyone should know that those are real shots we are taking from the shot board. What is that thing called?
The Shotsky.
Shotsky. Real
We
shot.
had a really good night the last time you were there. You had friends in town and we did something that we don't do that often. And we actually, because of your night, we started doing it a little bit more, but we had a clubhouse party the night that you were there and we all hung out. It actually turns out it's a really fun space to just hang out and party in.
I was telling them because also, so this was the head of the costume designer for the show that I'm on and the showrunner and all these people. And I was like, I have been on this show so many times and I've never hung out with Andy after. Normally he's rushing off, which I understand, to see your kid or whatever.
Yeah.
It just kind of closes down. But yeah. I loved that. And I definitely think you should do that more. And you should get a killer DJ in there and have a dance party, because we would have stayed till 2 a.m. It lends itself to that energy, especially when you've been like feeding everyone alcohol and pumping everyone up. It's super fun. It's just like a really, really fun show.
That was a fun night. And I was happy for your friends who were in from out of town who came to see the show. I was like, well, this is a full throttle experience because I never do this.
Yeah, exactly. How did you pick these quotes? What are
Well, I started with a list. I started with the list of women, and then I had a great researcher, and we were looking for quotes that had been said on talk shows or weren't necessarily the kind of treacly, quotes that you might think, oh, well, it's gonna, or something from a song, or we like the idea that you may not have heard. You could love Sarah Jessica Parker, but you have not heard the quote that she says about divorce or about shoes or whatever she's in there for. And so it was really watching a lot of old talk show appearances and interviews, reading profiles that they had done. So that was it. But I had a great researcher named Lucas Tim who shares my love of women and pop culture.
That's so great. Were there any, is there anything on the, that you can think of that was sort of left on the cutting room floor quote wise that you wanted to get in there, but you're like, okay, I have like 900 quotes from this person. I can't add another one.
There was a quote. I mean, listen, I could have done a whole book of Madonna quotes,
right?
But I didn't.
Right.
There was kind of, I took a couple out right before publication that I thought were too mean. I was like, you're putting this quote in and then you're kind of making fun of this person. That's really not what this book is meant to be about. So,
right.
It was like 364 quotes from women I love and maybe one from someone who annoyed me. And then I was like, you know what? Let's keep it to people we love.
That's really nice.
Thanks.
I like that. I like it a lot. It does kind of feel like it's going to be this coffee book thing, but then it's not. It's just, it's got so much more to say. I know everyone here, I'm just going to say the book's name again. I know everyone here is here to see Andy and knows exactly why they're here. Unless you've been up all night doing a lot of drugs, which I don't blame you.
Wow.
Glitter Every Day, 365 Quotes from Women I Love by Andy Cohen. And I just want to remind people to buy this book. Don't just come to this talk, buy the book. And when you do buy it, buy from an independent bookstore. This is super, super important.
And when you buy it, buy one of Amber's books.
Hey, a twofer.
Yes. Because by the way, we're kind of speaking to the same. I mean, yours is obvious. You write much more seriously, but you've written some great empowering words.
They do kind of come hand in hand. And actually, the next book that I'm writing is called Listening in the Dark. And it's a bunch of essays from different women like Amy Poehler and Ayanna Pressley about women's intuition, which I feel like is way up your alley. So
Wow.
yeah, I'll make
That's
sure you get a copy of that when it comes out.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, women's intuition. I mean, I gotta tell you, we need a female president so bad. I
Yeah, we
just feel like I would like a female president, all female cabinet, and just let them get it done.
Yeah. How do we do that, Andy? Who should we nominate?
I don't know. That's a
Who should it
really good
be?
question.
Maybe we should like drink in the clubhouse some more and figure it
I
out while
know.
we're dancing.
You know, it's funny. Meghan McCain was on my show
Yeah.
recently. You and I talked about her because the character
Yes.
that you're playing is similar to Meghan McCain.
Yeah.
But she was extolling what a great president Hillary Clinton would have been.
She's pretty, she's such an interesting gal, and I have so much respect for her, while also wanting to throttle her about
Right.
certain subject matter, which I'm sure she's like, you can throttle me like whatever you want,
Right.
Snowflake. But you know, we text all the time, and but she was like, she would always, when she was on The View, she would text me and say, you know, Elizabeth Warren or sorry, Bernie Sanders is coming on the show. And, you know, she would want to know my thoughts as a liberal woman about him and about, you know, all the experiences with Elizabeth Warren and Hillary. And we would talk about it, and she really agreed. So she's, you know, it's just she's such a dichotomy and such an interesting person, but I do love her openness to sort of some of the other side. I feel like I'm going to keep trying to pull her more open to this other side. She's going to go there someday. She doesn't know it yet, but she is. That's what I think anyway.
Wow. That's some headline news.
Listen, if I get Meghan over to the left, I want like something special. I don't know what it is.
Something special.
But it better be fucking great.
Yes.
Boy, what else? Okay, so there's this book. So when is the book coming out? What is its publication?
It's out.
It's out now. Okay, so we're definitely gonna order it.
It's on the Times list. It's out. People are loving it. Actually, I was on The View, speaking of The View, promoting it, and Joy Behar kind of ripped me a new one.
Why?
For not putting her in the book. And she was right. I was like, I love you, Joy. You're actually right. She's like, I've never said anything interesting to be in this book. I said, you know what? The truth is, you're totally right. I love Joy Behar.
Definitely think about Joy Behar when I'm thinking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all the rest. She's right in line.
Well, listen, or with Barbara Walters or Dorinda.
Yeah. You know what? I think what's great about the book is that it's something that you can make many versions of.
Yes, well, that's true.
They're good gift givers, they're good reminders. And so it can just be sort of the first round of that. Yeah.
Someone was saying, oh, you should do one of men. I'm like, I don't want to do one of men. That's not of interest to me at all.
I love that about you. I think you don't get enough credit, truly. And I said this on the show when I was there, but you're like such an excellent interviewer. You, in another life, really could have been like an investigative journalist. And part of what I love about it, and when I watch like the reunions or even just watch you interviewing people when I'm on your show, you're so genuinely curious, but there is a, and take this with all the respect, but there is kind of like a aloofness about you that is not pretended. It's just genuine curiousness, but you can ask the most cutting questions. You can ask the most personal things of people when they're going through their deepest turmoil, and somehow they answer you because of the way you present yourself. And I just think that that's what makes a really profound journalist.
I appreciate it. I'm a big Howard Stern fan, actually.
Oh, you are?
And I listen to him a lot. And I think he's such a great interviewer, but I also think that it really helped me. I worked at CBS News for 10 years, which was great. And I was a journalist. I studied journalism in college, but I also kind of cut my teeth, as they say, interviewing housewives, and they've signed up for me to ask them anything. Now, what I wind up asking them is anything and everything. And it really does wind up you know, I mean, you're out. I mean, the amount of conversations I've had with women about their breasts are, as someone who really has such limited experience with breasts, you know, in my day
Except
to
for my
day,
breasts. Except for my
except
breasts.
your breasts. I mean, wow. I mean, it's so true. Is your husband threatened by the fact that I've drank your breast milk? Like, I feel like that is an intimacy that is not many
No.
men have shared with you.
No, I think he was. So for those of you who don't know what Andy's talking about, but I'm sure you do because it was epic on his show. I had just had a baby, I think like 8 weeks before or something. And I came on the show and I brought my like milk bag onto the set. Because
Yeah, and why did you bring it on the set expecting to ask me to taste it? Or
I think it had, no, I think it had like lipstick, it had some of my stuff in it. Like I didn't have a glam team with me. I came from the premiere of the film that I directed. I had like, we were doing like rehearsals for a play I was in. And so I don't know, I just brought it in. I think I had like not very high heels. I was just kind of like a night, like an old vintage dress.
yes.
And then it just like presented itself. And I asked Andy if he wanted to taste it. And to your question, David was not upset at all, although he was like, what the fuck? I haven't tasted it. So now Andy Cohen has tasted your breast milk before me, which is supposed to be like the honorary thing that husbands or dads get to do. But alas.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, the great Sheena Shea from Vanderpump Rules
Yes.
brought me
Sheena.
her breast milk about 2 weeks ago. And she surprised me with it and asked me to try it on the air. And I was like, now I'm the breast milk drinker of television. Like,
You're the breast milk whisperer.
right. This is the gimmick now of my show that I try breast milk.
This is where this has all been leading, Andy, is you're actually going to start a breast milk line with your face on it that we're going to sell. And you're just going to get anyone with excess breast milk. It'll be like a Trump steak, only more fabulous.
Amber, thank you for chatting with me today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
I can't thank you enough.
Buy Andy's book, buy it. We're going to buy it from, and I'm going to ask some questions from some people here who have some questions for you. And just a reminder, please buy the book from independent bookstores here in New York. We have Books Are Magic. We have Greenlight Books. We have The Strand. Yep. All great bookstores. Buy it wherever you can, but definitely support independent bookstores because that is the world that we live in. So some questions here. Andy, you interview men and women on your show. Do you take any different approach to interviewing men versus women to get them to open up to your questions?
I don't think so. I think I get a little more, if guys are, no, I don't think so. If guys are super straight and bro-y, I either get a little intimidated by them or I just want to decimate them in some way. So, you know, it depends, but it also depends if you're dealing with like Jax or an NBA player, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Jax is like a great example of somebody who's not exactly, who's like kind of bro-y, but then also I feel like he could have been in an emo band in his prior life.
Right. And also I can give him so much shit that I like.
He loves it.
Yeah.
He's like a heterosexual bottom. Anyway, if someone wants to go into entertainment, is this something that you would encourage, or would you nudge him another direction? So nudge a person.
Well, I think it depends what you want to do in entertainment. I think it's a fun universe in which it's highly creative. There are a million different little hanging chads to insert yourself to. And of course, I would recommend it. It's done well for me, and so yeah, if that's your passion, I just think people should follow their passion, whatever it is.
I think that is the most important guidance. When people ask me that, you know, they always ask about it, especially in acting. I think that can be a really hard one, and I think even people who've gone to school for acting or you know, have studied it, we assume that, oh, just because I have a degree in it or something that means I'm going to make it in. But our industry is so competitive, and I only say that because I want to be honest about it, and I want people to know how hard you have to work to get anywhere in it. something like 95% of the Screen Actors Guild actually doesn't work. So only 5% works consistently. And whenever I do, speaking engagements and I talk about this, I always bring it up to say, like, it is a very, very hard business. But to your point, if it's about your passion and it's something that it's the only path you see yourself doing, at least in the moment, then of course we should all do that. We should do anything that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. What are your thoughts on all of this wokeism? Do you feel like you need to hold back at all so as not to stir up certain audiences?
It's a good question. And it's a broad question. So, I mean, I think, look, I think the intention of, it's a big word. I think that the intention behind it is for inclusivity and democracy and equality. And so I think that's good. And I think that cancellation of people based on sharing opinions or something that may be considered controversial is scary. And sometimes I do edit myself. And I have an open mic. I am around an open mic a lot. And I am a very inappropriate person. And I say things to be provocative a lot. And so and by the way, I say a lot of things that in print might look different than what my intention is. So I think that there's, we're living because of social media, I think in, there's like an angry mob at all times. If you open up Twitter, and people are looking for the next person to be canceled.
A friend of mine said everyone wants to get in a fight right now. Everyone is looking to fight.
And nuance has just disappeared. There's no ability for any nuance in the world. It's like black and white. And so I think that aspect is alarming to me. And I don't think that the Democrats, of which I am one, are doing ourselves any favor by being so black and white. I think Al Franken should have been able to explain himself and have a conversation before being forced to resign. I just think there are levels of things. I don't know.
That might be one of the only people that I also agree really didn't get what he deserved or got more than that. And that there should have been, it really undermined in that moment the Me Too movement. And I was one of the founders of Time's Up. Yes. And so the women that were coming forward with really horrific stories and trying to seek justice because of that, by just throwing him out without there even being a committee or somebody to look into it, sort of was the wrong move. And I see that a lot, unfortunately. I see a lot of moves made out of fear instead of out of like proactive justice and trying to change the system and the world we live in. But to that end, I do want to say about wokeism or being woke, that is a word that's co-opted by Black people who initially created that work to sort of describe themselves or describe other people as a way to say, like, we're waking up to a system that is oppressive. Yes. And it's now been co-opted as a pejorative term, which is really fascinating to me and is something that white people have often done for a long time. And to that end, I don't think anyone has been canceled. Like the idea of cancel culture, there's no one. I mean, if you look at it, there's people who are now back on tours and, never went to jail and, all of these things. And so when I think about cancel culture, I think people need to reframe their minds around it and think of it more as like a timeout session where people are forced to go sit in a corner quietly and not be in the public light for a little while to think about their behavior. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I do agree about the nuances, which is also why I was kind of excited to ask that, because we so rarely get to talk about these things in person with people that we love and respect, because it's always on Twitter or because it's always delicate. So I just think we have to I wrote a lot about this in Era of Ignition, and talking about this sort of condensed, palpable time of change where things feel really dangerous and scary, and like you don't want to touch anything because it's all on fire, or the idea that, you know, everyone wants to fight, and that's because they do. And so we just sort of have to ride that out. That's the way that I think about it. And it's a good time for people to think about the way that they move in the world and the way that they behave in the world. So that was me answering also for that person's question. Let's see, we got a few more questions here. Where are you right now, Andy? Is this your office?
I'm at Watch What Happens Live. I just taped a show, and we are gonna tape another show shortly, and I'm in this weird flash studio. So the lighting is very good.
You look very good, definitely. I keep getting these weird clouds in my office that are coming over that just look like.
Your lighting's good too.
It's very religious. Okay, well, I'll ask you a few more questions here. Let's see. Are there any women in the book, I love this, that you politically don't agree with? Any quotes from women that you politically don't agree with?
No. I think there might be a quote from Barbara Bush. I mean, I don't know that I agreed with Barbara Bush about everything. There might be a few, but not many. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. This person asks, I love the friendship you have with Anderson Cooper. I have seen both of you on stage in your AC2 shows. What are you guys like together, just hanging out? And I want to actually know about this with Sarah Jessica Parker, because she's a friend of mine. I don't know if you know this, but my nickname for her is Socks, because whenever I text her, I call her Socks, because she's always got the coolest fucking socks. I mean, she's got the best shoes, but every time I see her, I'm like, what are these socks? Like, did you hand knit them? What are they?
So funny. Anderson and I are exactly as we are on New Year's Eve when we hang out in person. I mean, I'm not really getting him drunk, but if you've seen us on stage, that's basically our dynamic. I was just talking to him, and I was kind of annoying him, and he's like, I have to go. And I'm like, you're an asshole. Why are you getting off the phone with me? I want to chat. He's like, I have to go right now. So it's kind of as it appears. And Sarah Jessica, same thing. I mean, I love her, and she's really everything that you would want in a person. You would want everything you would want her to be. And she's great. We have great conversations, and I miss her because she's been working so hard. I haven't seen her in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in much longer, but she's wonderful. This goes back to the question just about you as sort of an interviewer and somebody who was a journalist. When was that sort of first something you discovered about yourself that you loved, the interviewing style and process? Was that something early on, or where did that fit?
It was early. I mean, I wanted to be a journalist when I was in college, and I just thought being a journalist affords you to express your curiosity about a whole breadth or wealth of topics. And when I got the job at CBS News, it was fantastic because I could go, I was off camera, but I was interviewing people who were on camera or pre-interviewing them on the phone, and it was just great fun. So that bug came early, and it never left.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. There's a great quote in your book from, actually, this is another one that I had not heard. It's very, very simple. And it's from Joni Mitchell, and it's pain is a teacher. And I feel like that's so straightforward. It doesn't say a whole lot, except it's sort of all there right on the sleeve. And it really makes me think about these last 2 years that we've all been in together with the pandemic, but also specifically living in New York City. And I just wanted to know a little bit about what these 2 years have been like for you, what they've meant to you, the ups and downs of it, maybe the best parts of it, the worst parts of it, if you want to share.
The best, first of all, I was so grateful that I was fortunate to be able to work and do everything virtually. I mean, I think immediately we all started taking stock of what we have. What is my life? What is my home? What is my employment? What is my family? That's what you do immediately. And the fact that I was able to work, but also most importantly, just that I got to really be, as a single dad, I feel the weight of being a single dad on me every day, in that I just want to be in front of my son as much as I humanly can.
Yeah.
Even if it's that I have so many jobs, but frankly, they allow me to be in and out of my house all day, and I'm up with him every morning, and I get him dressed and I give him breakfast, and that's our routine. And I probably put him to bed 3 or 4 nights a week, which I think is pretty great. And
That is pretty great.
so but when, and it's funny, and I have to remember this because now that the city's opened up, I'm going out way more. But I mean, I was home every day and every night for what, a year and a half or more. And so, but that was during the time from when he was 1 to 2.5. So how amazing for me during that most formative time of his life that we were able to spend so much time together. So that's really what that time means to me. It just means that I got to be with him. And so I have so much gratitude about that.
I think that is sort of the double-edged sword for any parent during the last 2 years, was the feeling of like, wow, I get this really special time with my child that I wouldn't normally get. And then the other side of that coin is, fuck me, I have all of this time with this child that I have to be here all of the time. So it's very intense.
I have to go to Miami for a day for the Miami Book Fair. And yesterday morning I was in his room and he was just having a meltdown in his crib at like 7:40 in the morning. And I was sitting there and I spilled tea all over myself. And and I was looking at him and I was like, I'm going to be in Miami in 6 days. But it's so different because I would have been, my mom said to me the other day, we were FaceTiming with Ben. She goes, what do you think you would be doing right now if you didn't have Ben, like today? I said, oh, I would be on some insane book tour and I would be just joyriding through the country,
Yeah.
And here I am, but everything's good.
And it's always the case, right? That then you're like, I'm going to Miami, cry to somebody else. And then you get on the plane and you're like, I miss him so
I know.
much.
I'm like,
you think you'll get through 24 hours, but you don't.
I know. It's so wild. It's like, you're making these deals with yourself as a parent, right? You're like, well, like I was home with him all weekend, last weekend, 3 straight days of just daddy. And and now I'm like, okay, I'm going to Miami, and I'm like, oh, I feel a little guilty. Anyway, this is life.
Yeah, that's the French think we're all insane because they don't spend nearly as much time with their children. They're like,
well, the French are right.
The French are right. That is very, very true. Yeah. Andy, what gives you hope in the world? I'm going to sort of start to wrap it up here. And I just wanted to know for you.
Well, what gives me hope is just being with Ben. I mean, just the innocence and the joy. I was about to take him out trick-or-treating and we were getting ready and kept turning to me saying, Daddy, I'm excited. I'm excited. And I'm like, I'm excited too. And so just that pure positive emotion is what gives me hope.
I love that. I think what gives me hope is sort of this next generation of kids that are coming up that seem to be such fighters that hopefully our 2 children will become, when they're adults. You think about that a lot.
And my nephew, like, just their views on things are so interesting. My nephew found out that he was going to be inheriting some money at some point, and he was like, what? Why? He's like, that's not mine. That's not my money. It's a different energy that they're bringing to the world. That, listen, they're the generation that's going to have to save us all. So
I know. And we always, by the way, we were told that by our parents and they were told that by, it's just.
Yeah, but it is them.
It is them. My nephew, who's like 21 years old, my sister, who's very like liberal, California, amazing, incredible woman. But one time we had way too much wine, and Dylan is very handsome. And we made a joke at the table saying like, that he was going to have the most fabulous boyfriend when he grew up. And he instantly got very upset, and he was like, Mom, I'm not gay. And we're like, we know that. We were just making a joke over wine. Oh God, we're going to die. And then he was like, yeah, like it's a choice. I mean, very seriously, like got upset that we were joking as if it were a choice. And we're like, no, I'm very
right.
Elizabeth Warren. I'm very liberal. It's a joke, but it was really scary. Like what's so magical, I think, about this generation too, is that they do not separate their politics from their social views.
Yes.
So like social media used to be this thing that we would all just have a lot of fun with. And now it really has been weaponized in the worst and the best possible way.
So true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing this book with us. And
thank you for the
I'm just excited for you and for it. And also, I just wanted to know, is there any quote in here that is your favorite quote?
I think it's
hard
my mom's
to say,
quote.
but yeah.
I think it's my mom's quote when I came out to her, which was, "I probably would have hated your wife anyway."
Yeah, I love that. Andy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for answering everyone's questions. And
thanks, Amber.
And reminder to everyone one more time, what are we going to do? We're going to buy Andy's book. We're going to support independent bookstores. That's what we're going to do.
Buy Amber's books too.
Yes.
Thank you, Amber. Thanks for hosting. Thank you, Andy. Great to have you back at Live
guys.
Talks Los Angeles. The book again is Glitter Every Day, 365 Quotes from Women I Love. The book is available wherever books are sold, and copies with signed book plates can be purchased in the link below. As we like to say around here, please go on gently.